Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Fred Fuchs, and I welcome you on behalf of the Hamilton Jewish Federation and the Westdale Theater. This is our first annual Hamilton Jewish Film Festival. This was originally planned to be done at the Westdale, of course, live and back in March. And when the pandemic came, we had to postpone. So we've decided to do this online, and it's been wonderful all week. We've been showing some movies and having an opportunity to do Q&As with directors. And of course, it's almost a little bit to our advantage because we could have directors from Los Angeles like Dani, and we had a director from Mexico City last night. And so it's really been a great experience. And I don't know if any of you have joined us for one of these panels before, but welcome. And we also are going to be taking questions from the audience. There's a Q&A function hopefully on your screen, and please type in questions and we'll refer to them in the second half of our talk. And but do not use the chat function, because that also, we can only do one. So if you could stick to the Q&A function, that would be great. And anyhow, it's my pleasure. These people have all seen the film now, Picture of Your Life and Picture of a Life. And Dani Menkin, welcome. And he's our director and producer as well. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm co-writer, director, producer, together with my friend Jonathan Nir. We are the creators of this crazy movie.
And also, I understand your company is the distributor as well. Hey, Jude.
We are distributing the movie in the United States. Yes.
Yeah. So very fascinating film. I enjoyed it immensely. I feel, unfortunately, I didn't get to see it on the big screen. I'm watching it on my computer or my TV set. It seems like a shame, because obviously you intended it for the big screen. It was made for the big screen, but maybe one day we'll be able to show it at the theater. But again, it's good for people to see as to what's going on in the world of film distribution right now, as you know. But very interesting. Documentary filmmaking, of course, is so interesting to me because my background is more in scripted. And I'm very curious if you could just sort of tell us how this all came to be, and where did this story come from? And because you don't know how it's going to end when you start, do you?
Yeah. True, but I'm very happy, Fred, that you are coming from the scripted world, because that's mainly what I'm doing now is I'm bringing some of my documentaries into narrative, and I am writing a lot now, and I have so much pleasure in doing that. Because
and I also noticed a lot of your narrative talent in the documentary, because this is not necessarily the way all documentaries are told.
Yeah, so my personal style is that my documentaries feel more narratives, and if you talk about my narrative films like Is That You, which is on Amazon Prime, I will give it kind of like a real feeling to it. So I like to play with both genre. I believe that at the end of the day, an audience come and watch a movie and they want to be intrigued and they want to be entertained. They want to be moved. They maybe want to laugh sometimes. So it doesn't matter if
it's all storytelling, right? I mean, it's all story.
Exactly. It's all storytelling. So I'm really a storyteller, and my challenge is to hook the audience. And my company name is Hey Jude Productions, from the line of the Beatles, take a sad song and make it better.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And so, but this particular topic, and now are you a photographer as well? Do you have a great interest in underwater photography, or how did this all first start?
So I have done a film called 39 Pounds of Love. It's a film that won the Israeli Academy Award, and it was on HBO. It was shortlisted here for the Oscars. And I was approached by a producer to make another road trip films. I kind of maybe was known to do road trip movies. And he introduced me to the story of Amos. And that's how I met with Jonathan. Jonathan, at the time, he was a student for films, but he came from stills. And Amos was kind of his mentor his teacher.
Oh,
And
sure.
he
He
told me
was
about
many people's mentor. Yeah.
yeah, he told me about Amos, but we said let's join forces because even then I was very much interested in doing narrative films. I was working on my narrative, Je t'aime à la vie terminal. Is that you? So I said, you know what? I'm interested in working with Jonathan and on this subject, and let's develop it. Little we knew that it will take 10 years of our life. We did not
10
know.
years. Wow.
That was not the plan.
Yeah, no, never is the plan.
No, that was crazy because when we met Amos, first he's very much inspiring person, and we wanted to know what is his life story, but also we wanted to follow him
Yeah.
towards his life mission, which was taking a polar bear underwater.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if we were courageous or dumb or I don't know what. We said we're going to follow this, and it was a big task. It needed a lot of time, energy, and money to put together. And it took us 10 years. And we have completed the film. It came out last year. It won many awards.
Yeah, yeah.
And
but it's extraordinary because you didn't know the end.
we did not know the end. And that's part of the magic of making documentaries. But at the same time, it's part of the challenge.
No, I understand, but that's when. But I think
the writer in you is always thinking, okay, what could be some other alternative endings, and you're always kind of like trying to find what is the right way, because I do still like a happy ending.
Yeah.
And so
well, it's
polar bear eating Amos was not part of the plan.
Yeah, no, of course. But I thought what was extraordinary, some of the, and again, I really admired the editorial and the way, you establish certain themes and come back to them, and the use of archival footage and of course, having so many different voices. Often documentaries have the main character sort of narrate a film. Here, you didn't have that. You created another way of telling the story.
Yeah, because it's a movie about photographers, so the feeling was for us that it needs to receive special treatment. And at some point, the movie was with talking heads, like regular people talking, but there was nothing special about it. They didn't have like there was nothing that you haven't already seen in the movies. And because it was shot over a course of 10 years, it didn't even have like one tone to it.
No,
so we said, why do we need to cut away from Amos' incredible pictures and see just people with a lousy background talking to the camera, instead of just continuing watching the amazing footage that we have? That was kind of like our strength. So we worked on our strength.
No, I agree. The focus on his story was really the key, right? And you didn't really know or get involved in other people's stories. They were really just commentary on his story, so you could stick with him. Except for that absolutely remarkable sequence when he goes and sees his father the first time. And you went to photograph that, or was that photographed for some other reason? Or
no, when we were starting to work, Jonathan was shooting his father and Amos just visiting each other, and then this conversation happened.
Unbelievable.
And what was really incredible in that end, that when we were about to go to the Arctic, we knew that his father is at the end of his life. So Jonathan and I went to the hospital again to visit the father. And it was kind of like a closure. Yeah, it was a closure of.
No, to have those two scenes sort of in parallel. And then a third scene, of course, at the gravesite, as well.
Exactly, yes. Which happened after we were already back from the Arctic.
Yes, of course. It was, but it really, again, to me, was storytelling. It's you really develop narrative themes, you see them progress through the film, and then you reach some closure and some catharsis around these different themes. Absolutely amazing. And how was it financed? I'm just curious, because this looked like it was not inexpensive to do something like this.
Oh my gosh, it was so expensive, and that's part of the big reason it took us so long.
Yeah.
you know, it was a budget of a small narrative film.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like, and it cost us more without making it too complicated because we were first obligated to make a small version to France and Germany.
Yeah.
So we shot it with their money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a few €100,000, but we spent a lot of it creating that small TV movie. Yeah. But we were not happy with that movie.
No, you always had this future idea. Yeah.
We wanted to do the director's cut.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we had to raise more money.
But you know, that's often true for documentaries. I know in the past, they start off smaller, and then once you see how well they are, how good they can be, or even in films, you know, we've seen student films that then get remade as, you know, as longer feature films. So
you see the concept, you see the potential.
So I'm very curious, you now, in terms of your own background, are you from Israel? Were you a filmmaker? Did you go to school?
Yeah, my accent will definitely reveal that I'm from Israel. I was born and raised in Tel Aviv, and I
would think the audience would be interested to hear a little bit about how you came to this, because you're speaking to us from Los Angeles, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I live now in Los Angeles. I was always dreaming of being a sport guy. I wanted to be a soccer player.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of my road not taken, if I'm referring to, is that you? Yeah. And at some point, I just started to do some movies related to some sport figures.
Sports stuff, good,
yeah. And I realized that I'm a director. I didn't even learn how to be a director. I just took some workshops.
Oh, so you never went to formal film school or anything like that?
No, but I always wanted to do that in the US. So I took workshops in Maine. If you know, there is a place for photography and film workshops in Rockport, Maine. I used to fly there for a week, and it was really intensive, and I could get like a material that was kind of like a semester in a week.
Yeah, no, it's intensive, yeah.
And then that's how I started to make longer films. And my first international documentary, 39 Pounds of Love, won the Israeli Academy Awards, and it was shortlisted for the Oscars. Was bought by HBO. Right. Then I made another narrative film that I shot in Europe, Je t'aime à la vie Terminal, which is also on Amazon Prime. Then I made Dolphin Boy, which is another collaboration between me and my partner Jonathan, and my partner for Picture of His Life.
And were these Hebrew language or English language, or when did you start working in English?
Dolphin Boy is mainly in Hebrew, but a lot of my films are in English because I wanted to do American films. I liked American independent films, and the Israeli market is kind of limited, and I was genuinely drawn into doing things that have a way to cross from Israel. So I've done that, and then I made a film called On the Map, which is about the Israeli basketball team winning the...
Yes, the Maccabees. That's a fantastic... So you want to briefly tell people this story if they don't know it? Because it was a very important story in Israel at the time.
Yeah, this is like a major event in Israel's history, and it's a film that shows how Maccabi Tel Aviv are playing against the Russians, same team that beat the United States in Munich, and the Russians don't want to play against Israel. But Israel insists, and the European Union say, okay, just play neutral site, and Maccabi Tel Aviv were thinking maybe they're going to lose with 10, 20, 30 points, and they end up beating the Russians big time. So it's kind of like our miracle on...
A miracle on ice,
or miracle on hardwood, let's call it. And the movie was won like 13 audience awards, played in every Jewish film festival that you can imagine, and was sold to Lionsgate for distribution. I'm actually working on a narrative film based on
that. Yeah, that often happens. That's a wonderful idea.
I'm actually turning all my documentaries into narratives. So
you'll be very busy.
I am busy. I love it. I enjoy doing it. And
Do you identify yourself as an Israeli filmmaker, a Jewish filmmaker? Is that what does that mean? I don't know.
No, look, I'm Israeli, I'm Jewish, and I'm proud, but I'm definitely a universal storyteller. I mean, I think I'm telling a story. I tell stories about human beings. I love to tell stories about underdog, and it happened to be that some of
So
my stories I brought from Israel, but
yeah.
I'm definitely
Well, and again, you know, Amos's story, of course, he's Israeli, and obviously, you know, his growing up there and being in the war is a profound part of, you know, who he is. But in a way, this story was not, you know, very directly about, you know, the Jewish experience or the Israeli experience. But I'm just curious to what it, to, you know, we're a Jewish film festival, so what kind of correlation do you see in his character and some of the bigger themes? Is my question clear? Or
yeah. I mean, part of what I'm trying to do, whether it was in On the Map, Dolphin Boy, picture of his life, and my new film, Olsi, it just came out now. I'm trying to bring good, positive stories from Israel, stories that are not political.
yeah,
I mean, you go to a lot of Jewish film festivals and you may
right.
see a Holocaust film or
Oh yes,
story about the conflict.
Palestinian problem. Or, yeah,
I personally, I am not drawn into that. I'm
yes,
drawn into universal stories, and I like romantic films,
right.
and that's why I think a lot of my movies are pretty successful in the circuit because people want to see something different, funny, emotional, and I enjoy bringing it, you know, to everyone. I enjoy making it.
Yeah, and I think that the challenge clearly here is that Amos is not the most verbal person I can see. I don't know what he's like privately, but you know he's very, you know, internalized. He's an artist. He, you know, it's clearly he's a very unique personality, though, you know, he has characteristics that a lot of artists often have, you know, in terms of their focus and passion and their and what was working like with him like? Was he reluctant to share? Was it a challenge to get to his story? Or
Look, when somebody lives in solitude and he's by himself most of the time, and he's not used to the camera from
that's
that
right.
side of the camera,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we felt like a, we wanted to let the pictures speak for themselves, at least at the beginning,
Yes,
because what we experienced was that it took time for Amos to open up for us.
yes,
It
yes,
really
yes. I
took
can
time.
see.
So he really engaged with
Mhm,
us genuinely, honestly,
mhm.
when we were in the Arctic.
Yeah,
And before that, um, we didn't feel like we got to him. And that's what you also see in the movie. You see him opening
yeah.
up
Interesting.
about the relationship with his father, about the war, about his trauma,
Yeah,
about his mission. You know, here's a guy that was a soldier in the Israeli army,
yeah.
and he had the gun, and he transformed the gun with a camera.
To
And from a
camera.
soldier in the Israeli army, he became a soldier for Mother Nature.
That's right. I love that line, by the way. A soldier from Mother Nature.
Yeah.
That was a
So
great,
all
great.
those things he could really share with us when we were in the Arctic.
And of course, you know, us being a Canadian audience, we were very interested to see it all was filmed in Canada. And of course, many Canadian performers, right? Because all of the local people
Canadians.
there were all Canadian.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, of course, you chose a Canadian song at the end, you know,
Oh,
Leonard
Leonard
Cohen. I thought,
Cohen.
I'm very curious, just very effective. Is that something that was added just at the last moment, or was it something you had thought about, or you?
This is something that kind of capsule the feeling that we wanted to bring in
Yeah,
this movie. The line, there is a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in,
that's
is a
fantastic.
metaphor for the camera, for Amos' life, and maybe also for what we are facing right now. And
No, it's very universal. It's not just, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we felt like this is an incredible song to, you know, kind of let us finish the film in positive light.
Yeah, and bring it all together. I thought it was amazingly done. Now I'm curious because, of course, what was extraordinary to me is watching him almost, of course, as a, presenting himself as a person so directly close to these animals. Because, of course, a lot of underwater photography now is done with drones and, all different ways of filming. It almost felt like it was a celebration of the end of a art form. You know what I mean? When I watch, the planet Earth, those there's never, these are all done very differently than Amos approached his art, right?
Yeah, I mean, part of the idea that Amos is going out there face to face without protection, without social distancing, with the biggest predators on Earth. And you want to show that men and big animals can live in harmony. And we wanted to show what he's doing, and we wanted to give you ideas to why he's doing this.
Yeah, oh, very much so, yeah. In fact, one of our questions that just came in was asking a little more if you could talk about what happened with Amos's near fatal encounter with the polar bear. Because I think that brought out that whole,
so
kind of Captain Ahab story.
Yeah, I mean, there was a dangerous encounter in the movie, but the biggest one was actually 10 years ago.
Right.
And that Amos went by himself, and he was trying to take the picture with the polar bear underwater, because you need to understand there were 12 people walking on the moon. Only 4 people actually filmed underwater with polar bears.
Yeah.
One of them is Amos, and as far as I know, he's the only still photographer that is doing it. One of the 4 is actually Adam Ravitch, that was with us also.
Yeah, yes, of course. Who seems like quite a fascinating character himself.
He tried to do it 10 years ago, and and the polar bear was aggressive, and he went towards him, and he read in the literature that polar bear cannot dive more than 10, 20 feet. So he dove down, and then he realized that the polar bear never heard about this research and continued chasing after him. It was a very dangerous encounter.
Very scary, but obviously had a very big impact on him and really developed this, drive and passion to come back.
I feel it's part of the redemption, that event, and the father's.
Well, that's right. The parallel with the father is something you're drawing in the film as well.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of put the father's relationship with Amos and the polar bear at the same place. I mean, they were both aggressive. You can have fear for them, but you can also have compassion. And at the end, you want them to live in harmony together.
That's right. But, and I think some of the ways, without overdoing it, you wove in the ecological story, the environmental story, bringing awareness to all that in the film was, I think, very important. And, there can't be enough, these days. This statistic that, 2/3 of the polar bear population are now gone is just horrifying, But, we see this. And again, to me, and I don't know if this was intentional, there was sort of a little bit of a metaphor with Amos himself, because as I said, this type of photography and this type of artist, approaching his work this way may also be, a bit of a dinosaur, with all the new technology and the new approaches people have.
Yeah.
So,
and it is a story about generation. It's a generation of the father and the son, the Inuits.
Yeah. Oh, that was beautiful having the boy there. Was that intentional, or he just happened to come along?
He was with us the whole time.
He was just there.
He was there the whole time, and yes, and Amos' approach is kind of like an old school approach.
That's what I mean. That's what I like, is capturing that old school, authentic, hands-on texture. You know, so much of cinema now is very electronic and digital and who knows, synthetic, and you know, and I love the sort of homage to this older style of photography and sort of approach. I thought that was really beautifully done in the movie. And you're right, the father with the son, is a wonderful shot of them holding hands, just kind of walking across the tundra. And tell us a little bit about the bugs.
The flies?
The bugs, yeah.
Oh my God. Flies.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. You know, as a documentarian, there is a saying that you should be a fly on the wall.
Oh, okay.
But I think we literally had too many flies on the walls.
It looked like a biblical plague, you know, when it descended on you.
Look, I never experienced something like that, but I've never been in the Arctic, and I don't know if I'll ever be in the Arctic unless I'll make the feature film narrative, and then I'll have to go back. But if not, this is not something that voluntarily I will do.
You know, we all know, you know, cottage country and deer flies, but this was on a whole nother level. These things looked like little mini helicopters.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to have a net covering your face. So they came and they went with the wind and with the weather, but when they did come, it was a lot. It was sometimes too much.
Yeah. By the way, I thought all the music was really quite terrific as well. Was there a composer you've worked with before?
Can you tell us is my composer for many years. He worked with me on 39 Pounds of Love, and he's incredible. He worked with me on Allsea, and he's very talented, and I love him dearly.
Yeah, I thought he was just magnificent. There's a question from Janet asking, and I'm sure this was quite tragic, but there was a little, you know, subtitle at the end about the two Indigenous men who died. Well, actually, I don't know if they were both. It must have had a huge impact on everyone. Had you already all gone home at that point? Or were you still?
Yeah. It happened a year after when we were.
A year after. Yeah.
We were already in the edit room, and that was very tragic. And there was ice melting, and it was an accident. And it happens a lot.
Oh, I'm sure it does happen there. Yeah, of course. It's a dangerous world they live in. Yeah.
Very sad, because we lived with them and we dedicated the film to them.
Yeah, I saw that. And Bill's asking, what was Amos's response when he saw the film? Was he involved at all in the editing, or did he just see it?
No, he really, to his credit, he gave us total freedom, and he had some very minor notes, but I think the biggest impact on Amos was when we showed the film in Israel for the first time at the Doc Aviv opening night. And his father, and I think he understood a little bit more about what he went through in life. You know, not a lot of people have the privilege to look at their life in an hour and 10 minutes through the eyes of other directors.
Yeah,
I mean, this is not exactly the life.
Especially a very private person and everything else. I think it took a lot of courage on his part to.
I think it's a lot of courage to anyone who's making a documentary, because he a little bit is in our grace. You know, we are the one that will show him, you know, in different kind of life.
And what about now? What is Amos up to? Do you know what kind of work he's doing, or is he still?
So right now, everybody's at home, but
no traveling. Yeah.
You can follow him in his company, biganimals.com. You can also follow us. We are at pictureofhislife.com. So whoever didn't have the opportunity to watch it at Hamilton,
the film has its own site.
Will be able to still watch the movie on our website, and you can put it in the chat. Pictureoflife.com, one word. The movie is for you guys there, and please share it with people, because that's how we save few shekels.
Well, happy to hear you have many exciting projects on the go now. And I hope we'll be able to invite you to come to Hamilton. You spent some time in Syracuse, you told me, so.
I love it there. I love it there.
You loved Syracuse. The
I
weather?
love Syracuse. I enjoy shooting Is That You There? And that's another film that is now on Amazon Prime, so if you want to watch it. It's a labor of love, and I've been spending a full semester there with my friend Owen Shapira, who's running the Syracuse International Film Festival. I had the opportunity to come with Picture of His Life before the pandemic, and we even won the audience awards at the Syracuse International Film Festival with Picture of His Life. So yes, I mean, you can see all of Syracuse with my movie Is That You on Amazon Prime, and I'm happy to come back anytime to Hamilton and make it.
Well, let's hope we can get you to come in person.
Yeah, there is nothing like in person, with all the respect to the
And
crowd.
what will be the next film? What is the next
My
film?
next film is obviously, it's about the African-American guy that played in the team of On the Map, the Maccabi Tel Aviv basketball team. And it's his life story. He was the last guy to be cut from the New York Knicks. He came to Israel. He was the first major African-American to play for Israeli team. He converted, became Jewish, fell in love with Israeli girl, and his whole unbelievable life journey through addiction, jail, coming back to Israel. All of that is in our film, and
what's the name again? Can you? What's the title of the film?
The name of the film is Aulcie, AULCIE, and you can find all about our movies at our website, HeyJudeProductions.com. Hey Jude, like the Beatles song, HeyJudeProductions.com, and you can find a little bit.
And are you also producing films for other filmmakers, or is this pretty much for just you and your partners?
Full-time writer-director. I'm a full-time writer-director. I'm making a joke that sometimes
you got enough.
out of necessity because there is not enough money for a producer, so I just carry my own baby on my shoulders. But I'm a full-time writer-director.
Is there many other Israeli filmmakers in Los Angeles? Do you have a little community of filmmakers?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, we have a nice communities of Israeli filmmakers and Israeli community here. Yeah. And we have good hummus, you spend time in LA, so
yeah, no, I know it's a city of communities. So
exactly, yeah, we have everything, and I feel very fortunate to being embraced by the community here, and I'm excited about shooting more and doing more.
Well, your passion and your commitment is obvious, and your joy is obvious. And it's nice to speak to someone like you. There's so many people so cynical about the entertainment industry and all and the horror and the bad and the negative, and to hear someone with this kind of positive message and real direction in their creative work it's really wonderful. So I applaud you for that. And thank you very much for your time. And thank you all for joining us, for everyone who participated or have been here for the Q&A. And I hope we'll be in touch with you again soon.